Hey everyone, I'm fairly new to this group, but I wanted to share my story and get some advice if I can. I'm 28 and female, recently welcomed two beautiful baby girls into my life through surrogacy. My husband and I have been married for the past 3 years and have always agreed from the beginning of the relationship that we wanted to have kids as soon as we could. We started trying to get pregnant right after we got married, but unfortunately, after a year and a half of trying, we were told that we were medically unable to have a baby. My womb is apparently not the right shape to be able to nurture a fetus for the duration of a pregnancy, which was news that broke my heart. Because my husband's perfectly healthy, we decided to look into surrogacy as we would now be able to use DNA from the both of us. It was very important to us that our baby be biologically ours. And saying this, we would have been perfectly happy adopting a child as the most important thing for us being parents. We did want to have that deep connection if possible, so as I said, surrogacy was the next best option. Some background before we get into it though. My brother and I are fraternal twins, and so have always been attached at the hip ever since we were kids. We have always gave our honest opinion about the partners that we brought home and always valued each other's perspectives. When he brought home his now wife, I'll be honest, I did not expect it to last as long as it has, but I never really disliked her. They've been married for 4 years now, and she and I have been able to grow closer since she's been a part of the family. She and my brother had a child shortly into their marriage, and so my husband and I were very open with them about their pregnancy journey. When my husband and I decided to think about surrogacy, my sister-in-law immediately volunteered herself, explaining that she would be happy to involve in us finally having a baby, and loved the idea of our child and their child being connected in this way. My husband and I were weary at first, as we've been told by some professionals that involving family in situations like this can be very complicated, but at the end of the day, money was a big factor. As it always is. If we were to go through the agency and find somebody to carry our baby, it's going to cost upwards of $100,000, and we just didn't have that kind of money to spend despite saving for the past few years. My sister-in-law offered to go through the whole process for only $3,000, and asked that we just cover her medical expenses for the duration of the period. After taking time to think it over and discuss it between us, my husband and I agreed to let her be our surrogate. To be honest, as well as the financial aspect, we did love the idea of our baby being carried by somebody who's part of the family. Everything was going perfectly fine at the beginning. We brought my sister-in-law to the clinic to have the insemination done, took her home afterwards, and basically just stood by her until the pregnancy was confirmed. Things continued to go smoothly up until the first ultrasound date when all 4 of us were given some surprising news. As we were all family, my brother was very involved in the process as well. He loved the idea of our kids being so connected by one womb. So, he made sure to be present for as much of the pregnancy as he could. As I said, we were surprised at the appointment to find out that my sister-in-law was carrying not 1, but 2 babies. Twins. Well, twins did not run in my family, as my brother and I are evidence of, but we never expected it to happen to us. We were all taken aback by the news, but took it in stride, as we did not see it as the biggest deal in the world. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, got very worked up when she heard the news. She began to panic, and it took quite a while to calm her down again. She told us that she'd prepare herself to carry 1 baby, as she had done it before, but was freaking out at the idea of having 2 babies, as well as the fact that she would be giving them to us after their birth. She was able to eventually get used to the idea as time went on, but as she went into the 3rd trimester, she began to have some health problems, including developing pregnancy diabetes. She quickly became high risk, and the babies had to be born a few weeks early, for their safety as well as my sister-in-law's. As a result, both she and the babies had to stay in the neonatal intensive care unit for the past 4 weeks, just to ensure that all 3 of them were in no medical danger. My husband and I were told last week that we were able to take the babies home, so we've had them here for the past few days. I won't lie, it's been difficult so far, as my sister-in-law's come to stay with us as well, to breastfeed them and continue their skin-to-skin contact. To be honest with you, I'm feeling jealous of her, as I have not been able to have any quality time with my babies in the months since they were born. My sister-in-law has spent every single second with them. For their own well-being, of course, but she's been able to develop the maternal bond that I haven't. I tried to prepare myself for this as much as I could, as I was aware before agreeing to surrogacy that it would be a bit more difficult to bond with my baby initially, due to not carrying them myself. But the complications of the pregnancy and the resulting 4 weeks of quality time my sister-in-law had with them in the NICU have left me a bit unsure of how my role is within the dynamic. So this is my dilemma right now. I don't want to have anything to do or make my sister-in-law feel uncomfortable or unwelcome, but at the same time, she has been able to develop a maternal relationship with my babies that I have not had the chance to do yet, and I'm just worried that if it goes on too much longer, they won't truly see me as their mother, even though I am. I'm sure some of you are screaming at me that this is one of the complications of having a family member be your surrogate. And yeah, I understand now. But there's the moment I just want to do what's best for all of us. So, in saying that, if anyone has any words of advice they could share with me on how to navigate this situation as smoothly as possible, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for reading. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So, we do have quite a few updates to hop into, and if you think it's a wild ride so far, you've seen nothing yet. If you want more daily videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and here is update number 1. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. It's been a bit over a month since I wrote my post about my surrogacy journey. And before I get into the update, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who reached out and their words of support and advice. It really means a lot to me to know that there are people out there sending me good energy throughout this process, and that I'm not alone in the struggle of bonding with my babies. In saying that, I did get some rude messages telling me that I should have expected things to be complicated since my husband and I chose to have a family member be our surrogate. As I said in the original post, I'm well aware of this, and the financial aspect was the biggest influencer in our decision. We can all look back and say we would have done things differently if we knew then what we know now, but having those regrets does nothing to change the situation that we're in now. At the end of the day, we made our choice, we're in this position now, and sending condescending messages does not really change anything. So, my babies have been home for about 6 weeks now, and things have been able to settle down somewhat. My sister-in-law stayed with us for about 2 weeks in order to make sure the girls were doing okay, but she and my brother decided to give us some space to bond with our daughters. The few weeks since then have been so great, and I've been able to build my relationship with my girls and develop the maternal bond I've been looking for. Despite the worry I had when writing my initial post, the past few weeks have been full of quality time with the girls, for both me and my husband. Even though my sister-in-law moved out of our home and back in with her husband and their son, she's been checking in quite a bit with us and comes over to see the babies every 2 or 3 days. It's beginning to feel like a bit of suffocation, if I'm honest. Yes, I've been able to bond with them as their mother, but I do believe that my sister-in-law feels an entitlement to them since she carried them for 9 months. We all signed a surrogacy agreement before beginning the process, detailing that upon the child, or children in this case, birth, my sister-in-law handed over all legal rights to us as the legitimate parents. So, in this case, we did everything according to the law. And so my husband and I are the legal parents, which would be useful if things got more serious than they are. I don't think my sister-in-law particularly cares about the legality of the situation though, as I think she feels that she would be able to spend as much time with the girls as she wants. As of now, my husband and I will continue to let my sister-in-law come see our daughters, as we do totally understand that she developed a love for them over the 9 months that they were inside of her. We don't want to take that bond away from her, but we are aware that it could get messy as things progress further. Things are fine in the meantime, as the girls are still newborns and my sister-in-law is no doubt going through some postpartum emotions, but we will be maintaining our boundaries as time goes on. I don't have much more to add here, just that I'm absolutely in love with my girls. They're the most beautiful babies I've ever seen in the world, and I would have already done anything for them. If everything else falls apart, at least this experience has brought them to me, so I will never regret it. I'll leave this here for now. If anybody wants to reach out with some advice on how to manage the relationship between my sister-in-law and the babies, I would really appreciate it. But as I said above, condescending messages about how I should not have had a family member carry our daughters, it's not very helpful and are not appreciated. The decision was made and here we are. That's what matters. Thank you again for reading this. I will be back soon. Update number 2. Hey all, long time no update, I know, but things have been pretty chaotic around here for the past few weeks, so let me explain. A few weeks after my last post, my husband and I decided to talk to my brother and my sister-in-law about her relationship with our girls. It was getting to the point where she would just arrive at our home at all hours of the day without even giving us any notice, just to spend time with the babies. We had to be gracious to her about the situation, as we do understand that she loves them. But we had all talked things through before we agreed to her being our surrogate. We had discussed the fact that despite the expectation that she would grow to care about the babies, because how can you not when you're carrying them inside you for 9 months? She must acknowledge that we are the parent, not her. Again, I do know that us having a close family member as a surrogate was maybe not the best choice, but we did have a lengthy conversation about boundaries with her for this very reason. I know it's naive to think that things would go strictly to plan when emotions get involved, but the bottom line is, my sister-in-law is disrespecting us as the baby's parents and seems to believe that she's more suitable than we are to take care of them. So, after some conversations between my husband and me about how to navigate the discussion with my sister-in-law, we decided to sit down with her about 2 weeks ago and talk things through. It did not go that well, to tell you the truth. She got super upset quite quickly, telling us that she'd grown to really love the girls throughout the pregnancy, especially during the weeks that she spent with them in the hospital. We tried to explain to her that we did not want to stop her from seeing the babies, but that she had to respect the fact that we are the parent, not her. It was a pretty emotional-fueled conversation with a lot of tears shed and raised voices. My sister-in-law got a bit nasty at the end, choosing to remind me that I'm not my daughter's biological mother and that she had a better bond with them than I ever would. My husband and brother then had to get her to leave, as I got really upset by this. We reminded her before she left that we had discussed her relationship with the babies, before she even got pregnant, and that she had even signed a legal document on the matter. As I said, this took place about 2 weeks ago. We had no contact with my sister-in-law up until 2 days ago, and she asked to come over to visit the girls. We said yes, glad that she seemed to be less upset and that she respected our boundaries and asked to come over instead of just showing up. She was much less rude this time, respecting when I brought up the feeding and sleeping schedule I developed for them, and before the conversation she just waved me off when I told her I needed to feed them or change them, saying she knew they were fine, so it's great to see that she had taken what she said on board. So, that's where we are now. Things got worse and then a little better. We're still trying to navigate this situation as best as we can, and there's bound to be some trial and error. I'm just glad that my sister-in-law has taken what my husband and I said to her under consideration and respects her place in my daughter's lives. I'll leave this here and let you all know how things go moving forward when I can. Thank you again, as always, for reading and for all of the support. Update number 3. I know. It's been quite some time since I last updated you on how parenthood has been for us, especially with our surrogate drama, but we've actually had some other family issues over the past few months. My husband's father got sick a few months back with lung cancer, and unfortunately, he passed 3 weeks ago. Things have been pretty chaotic since then, as my father-in-law had previously been very healthy, and the illness came on quite suddenly. Obviously, he must have been suffering from cancer for some time, but for some reasons he had no symptoms until the very late in the sickness. He collapsed and was rushed to the hospital, and within 3 days he was gone. My husband's absolutely distraught, understandably, so I've just been trying to be there for him as much as I can. We've had to do quite a bit of organizing in the week since he passed, as it was all very sudden, and my mother-in-law's been a mess since losing her husband. My husband's family lives a few hours away, so we both had to spend quite a bit of time away from home. We did not want to disrupt our baby's routines by taking them into an unknown environment while still so young, so we asked my brother and sister-in-law to take care of them while we were gone. Some of you might disagree with us doing this due to the recent issues that we had with boundaries and my sister-in-law, but we reasoned that we needed somebody who genuinely loves the girls to take care of them. We knew that she would make absolutely sure that they were healthy and happy for as long as we were gone. We got back a few days ago after helping out my husband's family as much as we could. We went straight to my brother's house to pick up our girls, and we were so happy to see them, especially my husband. After going through a very emotional week, we just wanted to hug our babies and take them home so we could adjust to the stress and grief of the past few weeks. My sister-in-law had definitely gotten more attached to the girls over 2 weeks than she was looking after them. She was very reluctant to hand them back over to us, offering to take care of them for longer if we needed, even offering for as long as we ever wanted, because she knows that we need more time to grieve. I do believe that she cares about my husband's loss. She's not a horrible person after all, but I do think that she wanted to spend more time with the girls. I'm sure this could become a bigger issue as time goes on, especially given the fact that we'd had to talk to her about boundaries already. But to be honest with you, we did the best we could with the situation we were in. We never in a million years expected such a sudden loss, especially of such a young and healthy man, and so made the decision we made in a fluster of panic and anxiety. The bottom line is that we gave the girls to someone who we trusted to look after them while we were gone, and my sister-in-law did just that. We'll just have to deal with the consequences if there are any later. That's all I have for now. I want to say a huge thank you for everyone who has reached out, though I do apologize for the lack of responses in the past few weeks. I'll do better in the future to reach back out to everybody, as the support of many have shown me over the past few months has been an absolute blessing. Don't worry, I'll be back very soon, but in the meantime, please look after yourself and hug your loved ones. Update number 4. Hey guys, it's been 2 months since my husband arrived home after arranging his father's funeral. As you'll remember, his death was quite sudden, and my husband's still grieving quite heavily, which is to be expected. I was not going to write another update here, as our family's loss is neither relevant to this thread nor anyone's business, to be honest, but a recent development has me needing to vent somewhere. My father-in-law left a last will and testament, and in it, left my husband quite a bit of money. It's enough money to give us quite a comfortable life for the next 2 years or so. My father-in-law used to be the CFO of a quite successful company before retiring a few years ago and has spent the majority of his professional life saving in order to make life easier for his children and grandchildren. As my husband is the eldest child and also the only one of his siblings to have children so far, he received the lion's share of the inheritance. Due to the legal process being as annoying and complicated as it is, we won't actually be able to touch the money for a few months, but this is not a problem for us. We'd never expected to be receiving as much money as we were in the first place. We mentioned the inheritance in passing to my brother and sister-in-law last week, and things escalated from there. My sister-in-law pulled me aside just before we left to go home, asking me what I thought about the idea of giving her some of the money we were going to receive. Well, I was shocked at this, to be honest, as the question came totally out of the blue. Things had been a bit tense between us coming back from staying with my husband's family. You'll already remember that my sister-in-law became a bit too attached to our twin daughters due to being our surrogate. Since we returned, she sort of slipped into an old pattern, insisting that she knew what was better for the girls because of their physical connection, and coming over to see them more often than we agreed to. Despite this, my husband and I have been grieving and so actually sort of appreciated the extra help. It seemed that my sister-in-law had slotted herself into our family dynamic and so felt entitled to some of my husband's inheritance. She reasoned with me that she had already asked for less money from us than the surrogacy than we would be asked from anybody else, and so felt this was sort of a bonus. This was absolutely ridiculous to me, and I said that to her. By this point, it had almost been 2 years since we had all signed the surrogacy agreement, and so I had not even thought about financial aspect of it in a very long time. I told her that we absolutely would not be giving her any inheritance at all, as we had already gone through the specifics of the surrogacy, and she herself had named the amount of money she wanted us to pay her. I also reminded her that my husband and I had paid for all her medical costs during the pregnancy, and hers had been very high-risky, so she had needed quite a bit of medical care. I again told her that there's no chance of this happening, that she was being unfair in asking this from us, and to please not bring it up to my husband as he's still quite fragile. My sister-in-law was quite irritated at our conversation. I think she genuinely believed that she deserved some of the money due to carrying our babies, which again, I know is a big reason to not have a family member be your surrogate. I have not spoken to her since that we had the conversation, though I've spoken to my brother about it and he was shocked that she would even ask such a thing. My brother and I are twins, and so are close as you can imagine, so his wife's behavior towards me has been quite upsetting for him, which I do feel bad about. I'm just left feeling quite upset about how everything's gone down for the past year or so, as things have become so complicated within our family due to my husband and me choosing my sister-in-law as our surrogate. It's revealed a side to her that I'm weary of, especially because she seems to feel so entitled to our daughters, and now our money. I really do feel for my brother too, as I feel that I've messed up his relationship with his wife. That's all for now, guys. I'm trying to put the situation out of my mind for the time being, especially as I chose not to tell my husband about the conversation with my sister-in-law. He's still reeling from losing his father so suddenly, and he doesn't need this on his plate as well. I'll just say before I go that the messages I received after my last update meant the absolute world to my husband and me. The people in this group are some of the kindest I've ever met in my life, in real life as well as on the internet. Your words of kindness and encouragement have been such a source of positivity for us all, and I always appreciate you for that. Thanks for reading. Speak soon. Update number 5. Nearly a year later. So things got a bit crazy before they got better, I'm afraid. My sister-in-law reached out to my husband and me shortly after asking for part of my husband's inheritance from his late father. She again asked for a portion of the money, but added that if we did not give her the money she believed that she deserved, then she wants to take one or two of the twin daughters. That's right. As she felt she earned the right to be their mother after carrying them for 9 months. When I tell you that we were shocked into silence for about 10 minutes after hearing this, I promise I'm not exaggerating. She left this as a message on our machine, saying that if she did not get either the money or the baby, she would be taking legal action against us. We of course knew this wasn't even possible, as she signed an official document when agreeing to the surrogacy. She had also provided us with a new recording of her attempt to blackmail us. I'm honestly not sure what she expected to achieve with that message. As you can guess, she and my brother are no longer together. After we told him about the message she sent and played the recording for him, he confronted her and left with their son. He took her to court to get full custody of him on the basis that she's not currently mentally stable, and the case was definitely ruled into his favor, which no one's surprised about. She sees her son every 2 weeks on supervised visits, but other than that, she's no longer part of the family. We did end up having to take a restraining order against her, as she kept coming to our home insisting on seeing our daughters, and so we haven't heard from her in about 4 months. I do still feel really guilty about how things went with her, as part of me feels that she may not have had the mental episode if she had not agreed to be our surrogate. At this point, my family and I are just trying to heal from the situation, as it's really taken a toll on us combined with losing my husband's father so suddenly. I've been making an effort to speak to my brother as much as I can. As I said, I do feel very guilty about the entire situation. I feel responsible for his marriage breakdown despite him constantly telling me otherwise. I just hope that we're both able to heal together from this whole thing, as it's been quite traumatizing. And saying this, the 2 things that this ordeal has given me, or my 2 beautiful daughters, I'll never regret this journey, as it's brought me 2 angels to me and my husband. And that's the absolute most important thing to me. Well, I'm going to end this here, as I don't have much more to say, and would like to just move forward with the situation with my family. I want to say a huge thank you for the last time to each and every one of you for being there for me throughout this journey. As I've said before, the support I've received from the people in this group have reminded me of the kindness of people, and that means the world to me. Thank you guys so much for everything.